So, hello everyone, this is Sakramar with you. And today I wanted to comment on a game that took place between the beginner chess player Mikhail Osipov. He is mostly known for his short experience in chess, and in fact his short life is only 3 years old then for his game with Anatoly Karpov. This game took place on the 13th of November 2016 on the television show Best of All, hosted by a fellow named Maxim Galkin. It's important to note that many details of this game didn't make it into the video. They were cut out, deliberately cut out. That's actually why I'm making this video. To talk about all the nuances of the game, every detail, and to explain why Mikhail Osipov ran away from that little wooden chair, yes, and why he ran off in tears. He was crying and sobbing so loudly in the studio that they even had to, well, his mother had to calm him down. So, let's get started. Anatoly Karpov used an old playing technique that he and Kasparov had developed together when Kasparov was put in prison. This playing technique was called prison chess. It was actually Kasparov who created it, and only later, during prison visits, Kasparov managed to pass on the main developments of this technique, which is called prison chess. I'll even share some of the key elements of this technique. Yes, it's connected to tactics. There are aimed at disorienting the opponent in chess. Yes. You could say that while the opponent is in a state of shock, his time, just flies by, meaning it passes quickly, because after all, that game between Osipov and Karpov, yes, it was played with a time limit and was accompanied by intense psychological pressure from Karpov and overwhelming psychological pressure on Mikhail Osipov, who, by the way, is only 3 years old, and he got really confused. He even started to cry. So the game started like this. The game began with the pieces being set up. Anatoly Karpov, seeing how the child was arranging his pieces, praised them. "Listen, Mikhail, you set up your pieces so skillfully, well done," something like that. And he said it so casually, so quietly, that maybe even the video camera didn't catch it. He casually said, "Can you set up these pieces, the pawns, with your young behind?" Meaning to sit on a pawn, relax your anus, and place the piece. But he said it so abruptly. Of course, I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm not a great chess player. And Osipov, at that moment, Mikhail Osipov, his eyes became so astonished. He just didn't understand. It felt like, he ended up in some kind of parallel universe, right? And then basically, after they set up the pieces, right, this Karpov decided to greet Osipov and took one of the pieces, this pawn, slipped it between his fingers so skillfully, right? And Osipov also reached out his little hand, and Karpov squeezed it and started pressing the pressure points on the child's hand with that pawn, so much that the kid was visibly uncomfortable. He tried to pull his hand away, but Karpov kept pressing and laughed at him. He laughed like that. So he was pressing as if trying to find the pressure points with that pawn he had hidden between his fingers. And that's how he greeted him. You should try it yourself. It's actually not a pleasant sensation at alto press on the palm like that. Then they sat down to play, and Karpov said, "So, Osipov, who did you come with?" He replied, "I came with my mom." He said, "Wow, not a bad-looking woman." He started talking about her, started sharing his fantasies about her. He said, "Would the queen chess piece fit in her anus?" He started speculating like that to himself, and Osipov was just stunned. Another thing is that Osipov was actually given 5 times more time than Karpov, and that's why Karpov, once again, used I'll repeat the name of this technique, prison chess. There were also moments like this. Karpov basically asks Osipov, "Hey, which chess pieces are you going to play with, black or white?" If you choose black, I'm afraid that when the black pieces, when the pieces go into your tiny hole, there's a chance the paint might stain your hole as well. That's what he said to Osipov. And Osipov replied, "I'll play with the white pieces, all white." So that's the kind of compromise they reached, just like that, abruptly. He was putting that kind of psychological pressure on Osipov. Then Karpov also said, "What openings do you like to play, Osipov?" He gave the English opening as an example and started demonstrating it. And Karpov casually says, "I'll play with your little dick if you lose. After all, we're just playing for fun." So you see, prison slang started coming out, which kept putting pressure on Osipov. And then Karpov asks basically, "Will 10 minutes be enough for the game?" And Osipov says, "Well, yes, that's enough." And Karpov, casually, as he sets the clock, says, "I could have your mom in 10 minutes, Osipov, and with your ass, I can't even imagine what I'd do. I'd stuff it with these chess pieces, then mash them around, and you would be walking together in the park, and I'd sit you on my lap, and in your A in your ass, all those pieces would be there. I'd be squeezing your ass, and you definitely wouldn't be thinking about chess openings then." That's how Karpov, he just casually said that, yeah, when he was starting the clock, they were playing like Karpov had 2 minutes, right? And this guy and Mikhail Osipov had about 10 minutes, yeah. That's how they divided the time. So, and also maybe the camera, yes, it captured the moment when Karpov, he took a piece there. I think it was a knight, right? With a bishop or a similar piece, yes, but that's not important. And basically, he reached out his hand so abruptly to take that piece, and he smacked Mikhail Osipov right in the face. Just like that, it was a sudden move. I mean, Osipov just, and you can see that this hit, it was some kind of a technical strike, you know, a grandmaster's move, right? So skillfully that Osipov didn't even flinch, didn't even blink or turn his head, right? Like, you know, when you get hit, I mean, his posture, it didn't change at all. I mean, it was such a sharp whipping motion, probably, yeah. But that's already grandmaster level. You'd probably have to join a club to be able to pick up a piece that sharply, you know. And it feels like, yeah, as if he was picking up the piece slowly, the piece, right? And his hand was supposedly trembling well, shaking a bitent with these movements. He suddenly struck Osipov right in the face, yeah. But he didn't hit him hard, just enough to throw Osipov off and make him spend more time thinking about the game. So he kept distracting him like that all the time. Karpov, he's a talented grandmaster, right? For him, he needs to know everything about his opponent, basically, right? Even his psychological state. So he asked, "What opening did you start playing?" And Osipov started to answer him, saying, "Nimzovich defense." He pronounced it so poorly that it felt like he said Nemtsov defense, right? And Karpov kind of laughed. You could see his smirk. And he said basically, if Nimzovich had any defense, his guts wouldn't have been lying on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? And he kept going on, describing it further. Do you know how they gutted his crap in the car? To Mikhail Osipov, he started. They say that even now, pieces of feces are still lying around, and they haven't been cleaned up in memory of Nemtsov. So he started describing it as if pieces of his feces, yeah, got mixed with his intestines and rotting flesh, and were lying there for quite a long time, while the investigation was ongoing. While the investigation was ongoing, there was also a moment when Maxim Galkin, yes, he was surprised by these chess terms that were being used by both sides. It somehow, well, how to say, surprised him, yes. And he said, "Oh, what strange terms." More precisely, "Oh, what strange words." It's like a bird language. To which, basically, Karpov, he kind of stood up a bit and said, "Who did you just call a bird? Are you serious?" That is, he basically took this chess piece, his bishop, yeah, and tried to stab Maxim Galkin in the neck so that he would die, but they stopped him there. But of course, that part isn't shown. I'm telling you about these prison chess games, what they're all about, yeah, and what they are. So there was also this moment where basically Karpov actually knows the theory of chess. He made this move, a knight move, yeah, and he kind of was sitting there, with one leg crossed over the other, and with the tip of his shoe, yeah, he aimed, and as if, well, in sync with the movement of his hand when he was moving the knight, he suddenly kicked Mikhail Osipov right between the legs, basically, yeah. And even the host noticed that Osipov's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, yeah. It looked as if he had some kind of Graves' disease or something, yeah? His eyes were practically turned inside out, almost like a fish's, just for a moment, yeah? And then Galkin comes up to him and says, "Listen, Mikhail Osipov, are you surprised that Karpov knows how to play?" He wanted to say something, but he just kind of grunted or cleared his throat. And that was it. Because, you see, Karpov was already relentlessly crushing his little vulnerable Bolshev's delicate little balls under his heavy boot, right there on the chair, just absolutely crushing them. I mean, he was saying things like that, and Karpov would even laugh and say, "Now I'm about to trade. Now we've entered the middle game, yeah? And it's not clear how this situation will develop." And Osipov just put up with it all. He was afraid to make a move because Karpov had intimidated him so much. Then there was another moment in their game when, well, Karpov had more or less developed his pieces, right? And he attacked the pawn, and Osipov, well, he started thinking about how to defend that pawn. And Karpov comments, "You need to defend this pawn, you have to defend this pawn." He kind of casually says, "Defend this pawn, then defend your little ass so you don't end up on this pawn." So he started mumbling like that, and Osipov heard it, because they were sitting right next to each other, right? Leaning over the board, and Osipov, he heard it, and again, he was so shocked that he lost even more time thinking about it. Then there were some other moments in that game as well. Karpov says, "You're playing so aggressively. I thought you were passive, such a little kid, but you're already aggressive. I thought you were passive." And then, well, Galkin says, "So are you letting him win?" He says, "No, I'm not letting him win." "What, you don't know the rules in prison, letting a passive win?" So that's how Karpov answered, right? Like, "I don't let the passive win." And then Galkin says, "But I'm asking Misha." Everyone started laughing there. You could see that Karpov was saying something at that moment. He was probably the only one in the studio who wasn't laughing. And then Karpov declares, "You don't ask a rooster." He said it so sharply. Well, the whole studio just burst out laughing, right? And you could barely hear him at all, like he was just there. Then Galkin asked Karpov if he had ever played against such young chess players, and he says actually they cut out what he said and later he had to re-record it. You can see there, the camera is aimed right at his face, right? So like, he's sitting there talking and the camera's not on the board, right? It's right on his face, just as he's speaking. And he says, "Yes, we played just for fun, and I still play with him just for fun, kind of." So, prison chess, meaning if I win now, I'll teach him. If I win, I'll play with his little genitals. So, I was just playing chess with him, meaning I'll be holding his little foreskin like this pawn, right? Like, I'll be with it. And he started showing the pawn like that, demonstrating, but then of course they cut that out on channel 1. They told him there, "You can see that it's an insert, right?" And Karpov says number. So he said number. And there quite often you can see how Mikhail Osipov wants to make a certain move. Sometimes he would even make excuses saying, "I accidentally touched these pieces with my hand." He would reach out with his hand and accidentally touch some of the pieces. But there's a rule that if you touch a piece, you have to move it. You might accidentally touch some piece, and then you have to make a move with it. But this rule is kind of optional, because as soon as he reached for a piece, Karpov would suddenly press his foot into his groin again with his shoe. And so instead of moving the bishop, he accidentally moved the knight, and his position got worse. Yeah, so the intense and captivating game was truly going on. The significant match was well and truly underway. And then, quite suddenly, the formidable Karpov really started to put immense and relentless pressure on this young and talented kid, going absolutely all out with the aggressive and strategic pressing. He said, "You bastard, you, as they say, agree to a draw, you bastard. You have more time left, you stinking pup, you're damned bastard, fuck. You just know you can't handle me, I'm going to keep pressing you, so just agree to a draw, you little Joe. Otherwise, fuck, I'll buy your mother and fuck her like a whore right in front of your little nose." So Osipov is suddenly slowed down sharply. He started thinking about the game. Even though they've taken pieces, just look at how many they've taken. 3 pieces from each side, right? What do we have here? It's the middle of the game, roughly speaking, the middle game, right? But already, so to speak, Osipov, as they say, started to think about it. And so Karpov was slowly putting pressure on him. Galkin heard this pressure, and realized that's it, Osipov is screwed. He's done for if he keeps playing like this. Karpov will just stick a pawn under his ribs, and that's it. Or maybe stick a bishop under his ribs, meaning they're from different leagues. That is, Karpov is kind of an authoritative figure, and the other one, he's just a nobody, right? So he realized that's it. Osipov just lost it there. He said, "That's it, Osipov's lost it." So basically, he should have agreed to a draw, kissed Karpov's shoes, and agreed to become his personal lackey. That's it, prison chess, you know. So that's how it was. And in the end, it turned out that Karpov pushed him to the point where Mikhail Osipov, he just lost on time, right? His position was still, well, acceptable, of course. Karpov, noticed how the flag fell, right? And he says, "Well, that's it. You screwed up everything. After this show, I'm waiting for you. Like, wear less clothing, clean underwear. So that's it. We were just playing, prison chess. That's all." He goes, "Let's shake hands." And he had a note in his palm, addressed to his mother. There were various kinds of threats in there, like Karpov has gangsters everywhere. So he was re-ready, and all his associates are the same kind of prison chess players. They can put anyone on the king piece. Yeah, that's what was written there, right? And there were threats that Osipov is now basically Karpov's personal slave who will have to play chess with him all the time and teach him. If Osipov loses, he loses, well, just like that. You know yourselves what that term prison means. So that's how things are. So basically, this Osipov, when he realized what kind of jerk he lost to, more precisely, what kind of bastard and scumbag what he was risking, his own little ass, his virginity, he started screaming all over that damned studio. He was yelling, "Mom, damn it, there's a note for you, that's it. Now I'm Karpov's slave. Damn it, he's gonna teach me, damn it." And I can't get off the pawn. So that's it. He just started screaming and ran straight to her as fast as he could, to hug her one last time. You get it? You could even see how Osipov, when he was walking over to his mom, when he was going to his mom, he was rubbing his little ass. That shows that Karpov told him what he was going to do to him. I mean, I'm saying this kind of on the sly, in a shortened way, because for me, it's like the length of the video doesn't allow me to say everything solo, to say everything there solo. But what he said to him was just to swore at him with the filthiest language, really, and said such obscene things about what he was going to do to him that it was just, well, finita la commedia, basically. And then basically when Osipov was brought back again, to the center of the studio, under the lights, and so to speak, the following procedure took place. Since Osipov lost to us just like that, and he didn't know he's a child, right? But what difference does it make? He somehow managed to sit down on the chess chair, so that means he's already grown up. That's it. And so it happened that Karpov crowned him right into a rooster, right there on stage, yes. He put some kind of medal on him, and there was some kind of chuka drawn on it. So a chuka, like a crowned chuk. And so he gave him this, Papdemet, fuck Gagave him this booklet, with his signature, supposedly all put together like that. But in reality, there was this little sheet yeah, where Osipov kind of signs that that's it. Now he's Karpov's full property, everything. And he was crowned as a rooster. And basically, this Karpov started kissing him, hugging him like that. He says, "Now this little rooster is coming home with me." Yeah, so he was already kind of not holding back anymore. His urges, yeah, his inner desires to skewer a young body. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then they told Osipov to solve some studies, basically children's chess puzzles, yeah. And he started solving them there with virtuosity. And Karpov was sitting next to him, all sprawled out, stroking him. "Good little rooster, good." He says something like, "You should have seen how I meticulously trained Karyakin. What I truly did to his ass. We had a very special and unique combination." So he was gently stroking little Osipov on the back, on the head like that. So, and then basically what happened was the show eventually ended. Yeah, basically. And Osipov went backstage together with the renowned Karpov. That's it. And then, right before the very end of the show, Galkin says, "I've never," he says, "seen anyone play prison chess just for the sheer fun of it, losing a child's innocent ass as a bet." And the kid got inspired basically for him sitting on Karpov's pit. In a way, in some senses, like attaining Zenith's not so bad either.